Hello, everybody. My name is Taryn Borba, and thank you for being here today. I'm here to talk to you about web development and, in particular, my tech journey into web development. So I grew up in Modesto, and I did all my school here in the Central Valley. I graduated from CSU Stanislaus with a bachelor's degree in business administration and an accounting concentration. And I have over 10 years of experience doing grower accounting. So very relevant here to the Central Valley with all of the different companies that we have here. And in 2017, I voluntarily left the workforce to focus on having a family. And in May 2019, I gave birth to twins. So that's a little bit about me. And what am I doing here talking to you about web development, right? So if you take a look at this image, what kind of words come up to you of maybe kind of what this would be? Imposter syndrome. Anxiety. Imposter syndrome is what I was looking for. Anxiety, it's all related, right? So hopefully, well, maybe not hopefully, but you've all heard of imposter syndrome. If you haven't, it's when an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Very real concept, very real feelings internally. I've felt it as a parent. I'm feeling it today, right now, being here as a speaker. My twins were 10 months old in March of 2020. I was just getting comfortable getting out and about in public by myself with them, only to be forced back home into quarantine. So the combination of me leaving the workforce, becoming a parent, and raising infants during the pandemic was a rough few years, and I needed a change. So in February of last year, I started an unexpected journey into tech. My wife, Roxanne, introduced me to a company called Bitwise Industries. We have a representative here today in Daisy. And I learned that they had a program called Workforce Training, where they teach coding classes in 6-week-long sessions. And the combination that the classes were offered remotely and in the evenings and only 2 nights a week made it seem doable for me and my family's schedule. So I have consecutively taken all 4 of the classes that they offered last year: websites for beginners, mobile friendly, JavaScript, and React. So I finished the classes in August last year. My kids started preschool the week after I finished classes. And I knew I would be busy with parent life, but I just completed the classes and I gained all this knowledge. And so what am I going to do with all of that knowledge? So I built a portfolio showing off my classwork. And one thing I've learned about web development is that you need to keep coding. You need to keep doing it. And especially for me, that's not in my daily life. Like, I'm taking care of children at home. Like, where does coding fit in there? So in September, the opportunity came to me with some networking connections I have at GDG Modesto and Women Tech Makers Modesto. I helped create the DevFest event website. And in October, I gave my first speech as a developer at that DevFest conference. So big imposter syndrome of, just kind of fast forwarding through all of these things. But I've continued my community work with my networking, and we are working on International Women's Day coming up in March. And so I'm working with that group again to do that event website. So keeping myself busy. And I like to kind of show a few websites. So here's a portfolio page that I made. giving myself this web developer title, which imposter syndrome again, right? But I need it, right? If you're putting yourself out there and you're trying to be something different and going into a new field, like own it. And I did and am. And I'm here. So, maybe. So kind of simple, but fun to do. Gave me some practice using the skills that I learned in class, and I have my class projects here. And I can go into a few if anyone's interested in actually seeing some. I can do that. So, yeah, I can kind of start at the beginning and kind of go through my journey. And this first eco store, this was my very first class project for the websites for beginners. And it was just to create a basic 3-page site and a home page, an about page, and a contact page. And you can have any topic you wanted. And at the time, and still currently, my wife and I are on a low waste living path, and we have dreams to open our own eco store one day with potentially our friend Kashmir here, maybe. And so I took that. Oh, yes.
For this.
Yeah.
So, first project did Bitwise?
With the classes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I missed it, but before you started with Bitwise, what do you feel your confidence was prior to going in? Like, had you done anything technical on the computer prior?
Yeah, so I have all my accounting experience, so obviously like more corporate, kind of basic program, Microsoft based, but nothing like really technical, like very small like SQL with my like IT counterpart. But building websites, none. No experience. But this is the culmination of that first class. So you're learning all the very basic HTML and CSS. But yeah, prior to that, just regular corporate office life being an accountant. Yeah. So yeah, basic 3-page website with some links. If you click, here's our story. Again, links. So it could have been anything, any kind of topic. And another requirement was to have a contact form. But in websites for beginners, you don't quite learn what to do with a contact form, right? It's not going to go anywhere just yet. You can kind of learn those skills later, but it at least is there on the page. Then go back. So that was the websites for beginners class. And then the second class that they offer is mobile friendly websites. So again, especially now, the first chance you get to see a business or anything you're doing on your phone, right? Everything is mobile or app based. And so you're learning the basic skills to have things be mobile friendly and responsive across all devices. And so in that class, I learned a lot about taking that into consideration, number one, right? How is this going to look on your phone or an iPad or some kind of tablet? And also in the mobile friendly class, I got some experience doing like an event landing page, which happened to give me some experience doing the community work for DevFest and for the upcoming International Women's Day, just kind of a basic page. But again, being mobile friendly. Before I show you like my final for that class, one of my favorite projects from that class was doing this parallax page. So it's when the background stays the same, but your foreground is changing as you're scrolling. And so I took that class and kind of did a tourism focus. Kind of one of my favorite cities is San Diego, kind of showing off the images. And it was really cool to learn. I'm very simple, seemingly, right? Until you actually get into how to do it. But you really learn and take for granted websites and how they look. So I had a lot of fun with this page. And then so for the final on this class, I gave my eco store an upgrade. got a little bit more responsive. Somebody else with more experience came and did their website. And so I just kind of took that topic, gave it an upgrade with the new skills that I learned from the mobile friendly class. And so I'll have a contact page now with some check boxes, some typical things you would have like on a contact form. This one doesn't. No, still not quite yet. I think we didn't really get into it until JavaScript, and even in JavaScript and React, they kind of glanced over like, what are you going to do with data? But yeah, because that's, I think, a whole nother another topic. So for JavaScript class, so in JavaScript class, you're learning how to build interactive web pages. This class was very rough for me, and I don't know if any of you have learned JavaScript, you use it, or I don't know the experience level here in the room, but you've gone through JavaScript and you've struggled. I was there too. For me, it was just very hard conceptually to figure out, what are we even doing here? We're doing a lot of in the console logs and all of this stuff, and it's very abstract. Like, I need to see what we're doing here. And so it could have been the way the class was taught, but I didn't really get there and see the light bulbs until like mid to later in the class, to where, okay, I kind of get what's going on. And so I took the project for that class, was a Magic 8 Ball. And I had a lot of fun with this project and got my kids involved. So I did like a kids edition, to where maybe we can have somebody in our audience like pick a letter. Maybe Chloe wants to pick a letter. You want to pick a letter? Which letter? Any letter. P? Okay, so we'll see. We'll enter in P here and see what it gives us. It gives us a word with that letter and an icon. So the project here was to enter something, as a Magic 8 Ball does, right? And then give you a random answer back. Well, I took that, and the randomness of this project I did as the background. So each time you're going to submit something, it's going to give you a random background color. Because I was also trying to help my kids like get interactive with it, right? So we can enter in another letter and we'll see, okay, well, now it's an apple, right? And you just keep kicking, you see the background color changes. So kids had a lot of fun with this one. I did too, but JavaScript was very hard for me to learn, and probably still is. And I haven't kept up with it, so I'm going to have to like relearn it when I go back to doing it. But at the time, fun, but hard. So I had enough courage to continue with the classes and ultimately took their React class. And the format was good for me, the way that they taught it. It was very interactive with the instructor, and throughout class, we were like going through a project together, and it was kind of this movie app that reaches out to an API to collect movie data for whatever you're entering to search for. But we kind of built it together. So we're learning small sections and components together as a class, instead of just, hey, go build a movie app, right? Like, that's very daunting. So the format was very helpful for me to be able to like translate and break it down into smaller chunks. And then ultimately the project for that class was to do a fake store using, okay, so we've built this movie app together, translate that now into a store. And so as you can see, there's some products here. And there's like a login. So I have like a user context going on. So it registers the login. Yeah, question? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's basically project.
So there's smaller, like daily things that you're learning in each class with a culmination of a project, which was this store, but you're learning all of the pieces of it, like leading up to it. And then about week 4 is when they really got into, okay, now take all of what you've learned, very fast forward, and now work on your project. So you have that time in class to focus on it. But yeah, total 6 weeks long. Yep. Yep. So there's some products here. You can click in them. And if you've ever had to build a fake store, or everybody shops online, right? Learning how to build a fake store, like you appreciate really good shopping websites. It is not easy to do. It's pretty complex. And especially if there's a login and there's a checkout, right? There's all the security around all of that information. Like until you've seen what it takes to actually do that, you really take those luxuries for granted, and you really know which sites are good or not good. If anyone can attest to that, right? So we can add a few things to the cart, and you'll see the number up here will change. We'll go back and we'll add a shirt. We'll check out and see we have 2 items here. I didn't fully get to do the rest of the checkout, kind of what it would do, but I'm happy with the progress they made on this, right? Some of my classmates didn't quite even get to this point, but you could present whatever you got, right? Whatever point you made in each of the projects. There's no grade. It wasn't like, you're being graded or tested on anything. There's no certificates at the end of the class. So it's a lot of just experience and learning based classes that they offer, which was great for me, right? Yeah. It was through Bitwise Workforce Training, Bitwise Industries. Yeah. So they have different locations, and I was in the radius of their Merced location. And I don't know if they're going to be offering the same coding classes that they have done in the past going forward. But these were the classes that they offered last year. But like I was saying, there's no grade at the end. So like there wasn't that kind of pressure. I mean, yes, you paid for the class, but the pressure of, am I going to pass or fail? Like that wasn't necessarily on you to do this. It's like whatever point you got, you learned that much, right? So I really appreciated that learning environment, especially for this class too. So, as I mentioned, so after the classes were over, what to do, right? So I did the DevBest event website, which some of you were there. I don't know if you all saw this page or not. Some of you are featured on the page. But this was fun to do too, right? It's working with real life organization, deadlines, communication back and forth. We need this by this date, and all of the real world experience doing this. So it was a lot of fun. And kind of scroll through that. And then we're currently doing, I don't know if I have it, but
Yeah, by yourself? Or
it was a lot of teamwork. But yes. With a lot of direction from the Women Tech Maker group and their requirements, but ultimately yes. And so yeah, there's another page here for the speakers, which there's some celebrities in the audience here. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then currently we're doing International Women's Day. Don't quite have that one available, but
part of Bitwise. So
No, it was just those are just classes, and then the workforce training program that they have ultimately could lead to an apprenticeship with them. But this is just the DevFest and then the International Women's Day, just community networking projects that I'm doing, trying to figure out what I want to do next with the experience that I've gained. Yeah, and then let's see, I got one more. So just in conclusion, just like leave you with a few thoughts. So first being take the first step. So try something new, whether that's a new career into tech or a new hobby. Take the first step towards self-care and focus on what's best for you. Like I was kind of stuck being a parent and coming out of the pandemic, and so I really needed a change, and taking the classes helped me take that first step and figure out, come back to myself. Like, what do I want to do? What am I passionate about? And then find your people and build your community. Who are the people in your inner circle, your family, friends, coworkers, or maybe it's your chosen family? And then where are your communities, your school groups, social groups, neighbors? Maybe you're here today to network and find that community. Identify those people who you enjoy being around and bring out the best in you. And then finally, when you do feel imposter syndrome creeping in, remind yourself that you do belong, lean into your community, and feel confident in your decisions. And that's just saying that to myself, but I'm sure that can relate to any of you in various situations. Just wanted to thank my network and my community for pushing me and accepting me. And thank you, Nick, for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you to all of you for being in the audience, taking time out to attend today. So whatever your experience, background, future goals, I hope you've been able to connect with some part of my story. And that's all I have. So yeah, any questions? Any questions? Feel free. Yeah.
So, what was to try to pivot into tech from the beginning? Like, what were burnt out of what prior? Or
Yeah. So
tech money, or
yeah. So I left the workforce in 2017, had my family, and knowing they grow up fast, I'm not, they're not going to be little and need all of my attention for the rest. I mean, they're your kids, but like there's going to be a point where they're going to be in school. I'm going to need to find what's next for me. So with some gentle nudging from my wife, like, hey, they have these tech classes. It works for our schedule. Like, just try a class.
So what was the defining thing that you want to be technical thing?
I thought it would be fun to build a website. Honestly, like that's pretty cool. Not everyone can build a website. And 6 weeks long, I can do that, So that's I thought the imposter syndrome, yes, but like, oh, I can do that. I can take 6 weeks out of my life, do this, see where it goes. And I've taken all of them, right? So I'm like still doing it, and it's fun. You get to be a little bit creative in making a website, right? Yeah, there's still requirements and everything, but depending on where you're going to go with it, it can be creative with the technical. So I think that balance is kind of where I want to go. Something technical and organized, but maybe a little bit creative at times. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. I don't know, but it's fun and exciting. Yeah.
Also tying it with the first project, the follow-up project.
Oh yeah.
Also that course, yeah, that's the second big.
Yeah. Yeah. yeah, it could be a real business for me and my family and our friends. So that was the initial, like, where we were thinking just within my family, like, hey, maybe we'll do a business. And then, so that was the project, right? And then, so it's kind of morphed into, well, now I'm kind of building some side websites, but that's still in the back of my mind of, maybe that is a business for us one day. And whether I build that website is, to be determined, but I can, I have some skills to do it. And I now know people that know more than me that could help me to build that if I don't know all of the answers to what I would want, right? But that's, I think, the fun part of learning about all of this is there's a big network of people that have all kinds of skills. I don't need to know everything, right? And I could lean into that community, ask for help, gain more skills through those people, or take more classes. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. Any questions, Daisy?
Want to learn that?
I don't know. Maybe. I got a little bit of kind of that in the React class, a little bit of the behind the scenes of how things work, and that's kind of cool. Very complex, but cool, right? I think that's a lot of it is confusing but cool. And it takes a lot to learn, so I'm not going to rule anything out, right? Maybe. Haven't gone down that road yet, so it's not a full no. But maybe, yeah. Yeah. Okay, write that down. Future possibility. But yeah. So, anybody else? Any questions? Yeah. Yeah. In my experience, knowing nothing about HTML or CSS, I would start there before you get into JavaScript. Maybe others have different recommendation, but if I were knowing what I know now, if I were to jump into JavaScript first, I probably wouldn't have continued. I think working my way up to it, let me learn some maybe simpler, more basic concepts first, and then how does JavaScript relate to those for me? Yeah. Yeah.
That the visual aspect of what you said, don't necessarily set in JavaScript, so coming from here, not the result.
Yeah.
Will turn off a lot of getting that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you need things on your page to now interact with, right? And so I think, having a basic HTML and CSS kind of framework, and then how does JavaScript relate to that? And then you can build on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Feel overall more well versed in the technical space as a whole. Ignoring just the React JavaScript web side of things, I feel like it more in tech, for example, explore other avenues of tech, like product management, things that are involved with tech, but not necessarily.
Yeah. Adjacent. Yeah, I think I do.
Better than when you started?
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole world that, you don't have insight in until you start it, right? And learn some basic skills. So yeah, definitely. Still imposter syndrome for sure, but yeah.
Avenue a lot of
Okay.
face when they're getting into tech.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have the programming know-how.
Sure.
They have the knowledge of the space.
Yeah.
To be part of it.
Okay. Good to know. Write that one down too.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that's part of it too, right? I've just taken these coding classes. I don't quite know all of these either tech adjacent or how to continue and where those may lead. So that's the reason why I'm here too, is the networking and the knowledge from all of you and what you know and how that could help me and help others. So appreciate it. Yeah.
What are your plans for college? Are you still learning with others? And part of what you have your practice project.
At the moment, just doing the community work, just kind of doing the event pages for now. I have the idea to maybe start a Salesforce journey. We'll see. But I know there's a lot of push towards having people learn Salesforce and doing that. So that may be an avenue that I explore. But for the current time, right now, just kind of doing what I can, helping out my network of friends and groups. And when I have time, trying to figure out maybe like my own project that I want to do a site for, just to kind of keep up with my skills. And that will probably require me to do some learning again, because I feel, especially if it's going to involve any kind of JavaScript or going back into React, like I feel for me not having a job that, lets me do coding every day like that, I'd have to relearn some things and get like back into that mentality of that learning if I'm going to continue doing that on my own. So kind of the holidays, like you get comfortable and then you're like, oh man, I should really get into the habit of doing it every day, at least for an hour or two, right? Just something small just to keep up with that knowledge. So, any other questions? Comments? Yeah.
I was asked, like, where do you like something new?
Yeah.
How, like, been with having them? You ever
Yeah.
learned that? What?
My kids watched a lot of TV and a lot of screen time. Honestly, they weren't in school yet, and so it was just us at home during the day, and so it'd be just carving out like I'm going to do this for 2 hours or whatever it is, and try and just focus on that. I did get a lot of help from other classmates in reaching out. Like, hey, I'm available. I need help. Like, is anyone willing to, jump on a Zoom, whatever, with me? I have like an issue. And so I kind of leaned into classmates. In the off time, they offered study groups during the workforce training program. So there'd be like 2 days that they'd have study group time to where you could join a Zoom room with other classmates that are taking that same class, reach out. So that's how I got through, was reaching out to classmates. Screen time, hey, mom needs to work on her website, for this amount of time in the day, and then just do what I can. Leaned on my wife, like, hey, you got the kids. When you're home, like, you got the kids, I'm gonna go do this. So it was a lot, but ultimately I did it somehow, kind of just got through it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go for it. I'll tell you if it's not.
Income.
Yeah.
Are you able to sustain it, or are you doing more like hobby practice now, or actually like money?
Right now it's just learning and hobby. We're fortunate enough to where my wife's income is our family income. And so that's another reason why I kind of took advantage of, I do have this time to learn and, really do it. So what's my excuse to not try? So still taking advantage of that time and trying to figure it out, because not a lot of people do have that opportunity, and you do need the income. So I'm aware of all of that. So I'm very grateful and taking my chance to figure out what's best for me going forward. So, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
So, program.
Yeah. Yeah, considering it too, and with the time, if it works in the schedule, right? Because it is me at home with the kids when they're not in school. My wife is able to work remotely, so like, yeah, I may explore actual class to do it. Yeah. 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 And that's, take advantage of that too, right? Everything has changed during the pandemic. You're talking about not leaving your house, right, to work. But that's the thing is, good things have come out of it, and people being aware that there is this hybrid life, or the actual chance to do things remotely. People are capable. We have the technology. Yeah. True. Yeah. Well, it depends how you learn too, right? Like, do you learn more in person, like in this situation, in this environment where you need to physically see your instructor, a board, or whatever it is? Do you learn better in that environment? Do you learn better just reading a textbook, physical textbook, or, just online only? So everyone learns differently, right? So the classes worked for me because they were remote. And it got me back into the classroom mode, which I hadn't been in, over 10 years of being an accountant, right? Like, got my degree, worked in accounting. So I hadn't been in the classroom environment. So it was very new to me too, right? When I went to college, it was in person every day. There's not this hybrid anything. And so it's very different now. And so I think, take advantage of that technology, and but everybody learns differently. So whatever works for you. So yeah, haven't ruled out like taking classes, but we'll just see what I have available, what is out there, and what works best for me and my schedule, my family schedule, and see where it goes. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Question for sharing information.
Sure.
Sharing that effect.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
with this stuff online,
Okay.
very friendly with those asking that
Yeah.
I'm involved less here on sharing as far as work
Yeah.
stuff. I had that I myself foster syndrome myself
Yeah.
because first take that check was totally get but I call myself successful
Hmm.
at the subject matter.
Sure.
With that, also digital skills, but I already have a graphic design.
Okay.
So kind of jumped on, turned on the digital side, but I'm trying
Mm.
to coding myself.
Yeah.
When so lose the fear and learn something and
Oh, good.
doing stuff you got going on, like
Yeah.
going on, you have it. Actual design, not your very nice. Like you're design, experience.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, congratulations to you for doing it, right? Like, that's, I feel like, the hardest thing. You put yourself out there, right? You're learning something new and doing it. If it takes you a while, it takes you a while. Everyone learns differently, right? And not everyone can learn at the same pace. And so if it takes you a little longer, it takes you a little longer. I haven't quite explored all the detail into Bay Valley Tech's like program, but like that might be something I would want to do, right? And be in a more like intimate class environment, like with a cohort of students. So
Read.
yeah, yeah, this is awesome. No, this one wasn't. No. But yeah, like congratulations to you. That's awesome. Good for you. And thank you for the feedback about the, but that's I think where like the fun part of it for me is like I like the technical like coding the things, but then the visual like creativity of it. Like I like that dual kind of world. That's the fun part and kind of why I felt I kept continuing taking the classes. Like what else can I do? So it's fun. So I appreciate that feedback. Thank you. Yeah. Sure.
I didn't turn the project in because I got that frustrated with JavaScript.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. 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 So when we were doing the classes, I don't know that I fully got into it, but like each class like culminates in the project, right? And not all of the students, some students didn't even present because they didn't feel comfortable enough, right? Some students did part of it and they presented what they got done. There's no grade, it's about your own just learning of it. And so that's why I felt like these classes worked for me without like that pressure of like an MJC or whatever like technical, like you're going to get a grade or you're going to get a certificate at the end, pass for whatever it is. So just the pressure of not having things graded and it's you're just learning, right? That helped for me. And probably why I continued, right? Just I'm learning. I'm paying to learn. I'm here and I'm gonna do my best. I don't get it all. I don't get it all. Like I said in the store, I didn't get it fully working. I was very hard on myself for not getting all the way there, like some of my classmates did. But you know what? I did a lot of it, and I was proud to present like what I did get through. So, but yeah. There were a couple of days in class where they went through like had us do some mock-ups or Figma, like to say, hey, there are these tools to do it. I didn't quite. I think on that day, like I drew it out like on paper. Like, okay, I kind of want this. I was more like hands-on on paper for me. But I have peeked into a little bit of that word, which is very cool. Like all of those tools are really cool. I didn't fully get into it in my experience in the classes, but they're there for a reason, right? And then some convert all of that work right into a page too, right? And there's so some of that, which is pretty neat. But for what I did, I didn't. It was just more, just code it. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Are you willing to share how much it was cost?
Each of the classes were $250.
No, class was
6 weeks long. Yep. So as an investment to myself, right? Like, yeah. So I don't know how comparable those are to other classes and kind of what you get out of it. But and that's kind of the feedback I heard too is, well, that's pretty good. Yeah.
salary, I think, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just check that box of it's an investment in myself. And if it doesn't end up going anywhere, if I don't like continue this, like I'm proud of what I got out of that, out of all the classes and what I've done so far. And I call that a win. Yeah. I feel that way. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, I felt it in before I started this journey, like in each class as I'm trying to do the project. For sure felt it once I hit JavaScript. Like, what am I doing? Like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. There were several nights of like crying. Like, I don't think I can continue. But like ultimately, because there's no grade, like all of that pressure, I just kind of tried to remember that. Like, I'm just learning, go with it. So I appreciate that. Still struggle with it, but I think you're right. Like, just try it. My thing at the end, like, take that first step and just do it. And you may surprise yourself. And I have. So, and I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't be right here talking to all of you, practicing public speaking skills, if I didn't. And so who would have thought, right? So yeah. Yeah.
How do you like that?
Well, it's kind of all known. That's what we used for the classes, so that's what I'm comfortable with. So it's fine for me, but that's all I know. Yeah, it is. And then even I didn't quite get to this part like during classes, but the work that I've done for the event pages, I'm using a lot of like the issues and kind of like the more project management and everything, all the other tools that are in GitHub, for organization, like going forward, using a lot more into it. But that's all I know. So
Like, side.
yeah. but yeah. I don't know if there's anything else anybody wants to see or if we have any other questions. Anything else?
Great.
Yeah.
So, Lord, so I see that the phone bar,
Hmm.
I'm, I'm gay.
Yeah.
I really been so trying to sometimes like one and so one. You're like a superhero who has one hat. Like I'm a
I got
superhero.
rainbow shoes, man.
That. And so, how did you take the highlight? Highlight with twins. I've always wanted to have kids, and I've always said twins. I'm going to have kids one time, but I want twins.
Yeah.
So there you go, inspiring again. So
Don't say that because you might actually get them. You may actually get twins.
so how are you
Yeah.
going to? Because I don't want to get the sense like I'm gonna turn people off, especially men, stuff like that. But I'm not like that. I just don't
Yeah.
say it, but you're open about it. Stuff as that brought like
Well, I'm crying. So it's not easy. It hasn't been easy. But that's even more reason to be yourself, right? And especially now that I'm a parent, like that's even more reason to be me, to meet other people. Like it's nothing to be ashamed of. You are you. No, no. I mean, it's hard in this area. There is a big conservative presence in this area, so it is hard to, you know, break out of stereotypes and, not be afraid. But it's taken a long time for me to get to where I am today. I didn't come out until I was 23. I'll be 40 this year. It's, everybody's journey is different. And ultimately, you just got to be yourself. Like, why hide you? You're awesome. You are awesome. Just like you are. And why should you hide that from the world and people? Well, that's even more reason why I need to be here today, right? Like I've connected on a different level with you. So thank you for being comfortable enough to say that to everyone here. Yeah. That's how it works. You know, you touch one person and that just spreads, right? To whatever it is. It doesn't, whatever it is. So thank you. Appreciate that. It's not easy, but there are people. I'll give you my number after. We can be friends. I don't know where you live, but we can be friends. So, okay. We don't need to be in person to be friends. So, yeah.
It is, but I although
Always.
It's up. If anybody else has any other questions, we can just chat after too. We don't. So, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.